Good afternoon, everyone. It's Flying Gato. Hope you're having a good day. I got something to talk to you about today. I think you'll find it interesting. As a fellow diesel owner, as a fellow German diesel owner, I feel like I should chime in on the whole Volkswagen Diesel scandal. Now, there are many ways to look at this thing, and let's explore them all. First, I guess I should explain what the diesel scandal is, in case you're watching this like 5 years from now. I'm not sure if you're going to be watching this 5 years ago, but if you are watching this 5 years from now, the diesel scandal is when Volkswagen Volkswagen lied or deceived the EPA, that's the Environmental Protection Agency, by cheating on their EPA mandated smog tests or emissions tests. Now, one thing to take note is that car manufacturers have to self-test and self-regulate and self-report. So they could pretty much say whatever they want, but if an independent third party tests their vehicle, it shouldn't be lying. It's a regulatory problem. There's a penalty of $37,000 per car for every vehicle that doesn't pass emissions when you claim it does pass emissions. What happened was for a long time, actually, for I think the last, I want to say 6 years, sold diesel cars and claimed that even without the special urea injection system, they could meet the emission standards of the US. I actually did not know that they did not use the urea tanks in the Volkswagens. I thought they did. So we're talking specifically about the 4-cylinder 2.0 TDIs that Volkswagen sold. I had no idea that they didn't use AdBlue until I believe this year they're starting to use it, and AdBlue urea injection. For more in-depth on this, just Google it. There's more information on this. Basically, the way it works is, the reason diesels need this urea injection is to reduce the NO, so nitrogen oxide emissions. Because that's the leading cause of smog. Smog is when you look at a city like Los Angeles during a hot afternoon, a hot and humid afternoon, and you don't see it because it's a nice hazy, dark cloud in it, and that's smog. And it's said to be carcinogenic. There's said to be problems with it. I'm not gonna get caught in this traffic accident here. A traffic accident waiting to happen there. What the hell happened here? Sorry, I got distracted there. I was saying, so nitrogen oxide is a leading cause of smog, and they say it's carcinogenic, it's bad for the lungs, it gives you asthma, all that stuff. So they've really restricted the emissions of NO. I think it's NO2. I'm not sure if it's NO2, but it's nitrogen oxide or NOx. People call it NOx. Many different names for it. I'm not a chemist, so I'm not too sure exactly what the chemical composition of it is, but it's diesel cars emit this because of the way they burn their fuel. Diesel fuel does not burn with a spark plug. It burns through compression. It's basically an open fire inside the cylinder. That I'm just oversimplifying it, of course, but you know, that's what it is. And the US is very strict on that, because back in the 70s and the 80s, I believe, they were selling diesels and all you saw was black smoke coming out the back, and I'm like, oh, people, I mean, understandably so, you don't want that in your neighborhood. It's terrible. So, you know, they put a stop to it, and now companies are coming out with clean diesels. So Volkswagen was claiming that their diesel was clean enough to meet the strict regulations, even the strict CARB regulations, which is the California Air and Resource Board. The CARB is notorious for their very, very, very strict guidelines, stricter than the federal mandates for the rest of the nation. They can meet those regulations without the addition of AdBlue or urea into the exhaust. So they were claiming this, and then what happened was in Europe, they were trying to ban diesels, or they're trying to ban diesels, and I don't know who commissioned them, but somebody commissioned the University of West Virginia, or the University of Virginia, a university down south somewhere, to go and test the tailpipes of these diesel Volkswagens to prove that they are in fact clean enough, that in fact you don't really need these very expensive urea injection systems. What happened was, this happened about, I think it was a year ago, when they tested it, they had way more emissions than they planned to get. They reported this, somehow it got to the government started testing themselves, or I'm not sure if they tested themselves, but the government told Volkswagen, hey, this is going on. So then Volkswagen issued a patch to the software saying, oh, it's going to be fine, and it wasn't, and now finally they admit to changing the software when the car knows it's being tested. So I don't know how the car does that. Maybe it knows when something's plugged into the OBD2 system, which is where they test, usually when you get a state inspection, that's when you get plugged in a small computer into the OBD2 port in your car. Every car past 1994 or 95, I believe, has an OBD2 port. And they tested it, and the cars knew that, so they cut emissions a lot. But then when it wasn't plugged to an emissions control test, the computer system would say, okay, forget that, we don't care about emissions anymore. So basically what that allows for is, I don't know how long I've had my blinker on for. Jesus, I'm very enthralled in this conversation here, as you can tell. Basically what that allows for is for higher miles per gallon, because you have less restrictive exhaust. You have more power, again, less restriction in the exhaust, and better sales for Volkswagen. And when you consider the fact that Mazda couldn't bring their diesel because they couldn't get it EPA certified, Honda couldn't get their diesel in because I don't know if they tried, but they couldn't get it EPA certified either. And Volkswagen was touting themselves, hey, we could do it. Well, I guess they can't. So that's the whole Volkswagen Diesel problem in a nutshell. Now, my opinions on it. Remember, these are just my opinions. I don't really know any more than pretty much anyone else. Just because I own a diesel car and I researched this extensively on my own just for fun doesn't mean I know all the facts, but I think the whole thing is a bit overblown, to be honest. So yes, Volkswagen definitely should not have lied. Definitely should not. They shouldn't have lied. They should have just been like, nope, we can't meet the restrictions, so we're just going to restrict the crap out of this exhaust. But if you're a tuner or a modder, you can go ahead and change it up however you want. That's what I would have done if I was in Volkswagen's camp. I would have released a car with, good emissions, good gas mileage, terrible power, and then a simple tune-up, a simple tune, and maybe a pipe would have released the power. That's what I would have done. That's what BMW did. Their 335 diesel is very, very powerful still. It's good gas mileage. But if you uncork it, if you take all the emission stuff off of it, it is a beast. Anyway. They got a lot of extra sales out of it. It's not fair to the other manufacturers playing within the rules. It's just not. So yes, I agree. They should not have been able to do that, and they did. So they should be punished for it. I definitely agree. They should be punished, and they are. They will. You know, customers will not buy their cars anymore. They won't be able to sell their diesels, which is, you know, they've been selling relatively well. So that's going to hurt their sales significantly. Yeah, so they will be punished. What I don't agree with is the government getting his hands all up into the automotive world. They should let the consumers decide what they want based on real data. You know, one of the biggest problems of old diesels is that, you know, they spew all that black smoke and all the particulate nonsense that they take out. If you own a diesel with straight pipes, you will notice that it leaves a nice film of soot all over the place, everywhere you go. Especially in your home, since, hey, your truck or car spends most of its time at home. I, for one, don't like that, so I like to keep my emissions stuff mostly on my cars. Another thing that's not good for you is the fact that for your body, you're inhaling all of that stuff a lot. I mean, a lot. You're in the car, you're out of the car, you have the window down, you get particulates inside. That's all carcinogenic. You never know what that stuff can be, you know? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's carcinogenic, but it's bad. So I don't recommend it, and I think consumers would agree with me. Yes, there's going to be some that are going to buy a car and chop it up and do whatever the hell they want, but there's a very minor minority that, you know, shouldn't matter. Car manufacturers are interested in building green cars because customers want green cars. I mean, just look at the Toyota Prius. That thing is actually not very good for the environment at all. The batteries, the manufacturing of it, all that stuff is terrible. Especially the manufacture of the batteries, terrible for the environment. But that's not the point. It creates an image for the consumer. So they buy it in droves, even though it's terrible for the environment. So consumers would buy whatever they want, and consumers do enjoy clean air. I mean, I don't know what planet you're living on, but if I had the choice between an extra 5, let's say 10 horsepower, or clean air, I'll take my clean air. Thank you. You don't have to be very intelligent to see that people would choose this. So why is the EPA even bothering with these automakers? They'll make the cars that the consumers want. I mean, sure, you know, in the 70s we saw all this soot and nastiness coming from diesels and cars, but do you think that would be happening today, even without the help of the EPA? Of course not. Consumers vote and want their own clean cars. I mean, Honda, the first Civic, I think it was a Civic or Accord, created their clean car without a catalytic converter in the 70s, when every car was being choked to death by catalytic converters, and that was perfect. And that's because Honda wanted to build a green car. By green, I mean an efficient, clean car. Because consumers want that. We don't need the government to enforce these crazy regulations just because some lobbyist says it's a good idea to restrict this on automakers. More to the point, speaking of lobbyists, all these automakers have giant lobbying arms that go to governments and be like, hey, just I don't want to be innovative. Can you make the rules basically say, favorite my way? Okay, thanks, bye. That's what they do. Just look at the way politics work. They should be NASCARs. Anyway, I think that Volkswagen did a very bad thing. They shouldn't have lied to its consumers. I don't care about the government. It's consumers. They shouldn't lie to the consumers. They did lie, and they're going to pay dearly for it. So that's all I had to say about that. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy your day. Today's actually the autumnal equinox. So the day is exactly as long as the night. So enjoy it. Enjoy the fall. I'm ready for the fall. I'm not ready for the winter, but I'm ready for the fall. Thanks for watching, guys.